सिस्टम पे दिया था. Have you gone through that lecture?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So now let us discuss about the application of first law of thermodynamics to a heat exchanger. So that is the topic for today. Uh, Now, anyone of you who knows something about heat exchanger? Any idea about heat exchanger? What is a heat exchanger? Anyone? Okay. So let us first of all discuss about a heat exchanger. Okay. See, a heat exchanger is basically a device in which one fluid loses heat, whereas the other fluid gains heat. Okay. So the diagram is shown here on the right hand side of this slide. You can see this box which we have shown here. This is a sort of heat exchanger. Okay. This is heat exchanger. There is steam which is entering from the top. It is entering here. Okay. It's a, you can say it's a shell. This part is known as shell of heat exchanger, and the steam is passing into this shell actually here. Okay. And here we have in between the tubes, this is a tube through which cold water is passing. So there can be number of tubes here actually. This is also another tube. So you can say I can make it in this particular shape also. So the water is also flowing through this tube actually. So this is also a tube. Okay. So whereas the steam is entering into the shell, the cold water is flowing through the tubes. So what will happen? The steam, if we consider, is at 100 degrees Celsius, and the cold water, if we consider, is at 20 degrees Celsius. So steam will condense out and it will convert into water. The temperature may go down to 50 degrees Celsius, whereas the cold water temperature may increase, it becomes hot water, and its temperature may increase to 40 degrees Celsius. So something like this may happen. So basically, the steam is losing heat to cold water, and the steam gets converted to water here, whereas the cold water gets converted to the hot water. Okay, and both are not coming in direct contact with each other. Okay, they are have different space for flow. The steam is flowing in the shell and the cold water is flowing in the tubes. So they are not coming in direct contact. There could have been a possibility also, for example, in a similar type of the heat exchanger, if this is the shell from the one side, if this is the water, if cold water is entering here and the steam is entering here, okay, this is steam and this is cold water, and both are mixing with each other, and then from the down we can say we have hot water which is coming out. So this is another type of the heat exchanger. So in the first type of the heat exchanger which I just explained you here, the both fluids are not mixing into one another, whereas in this particular case, in this type of the heat exchanger which I have just explained, it's a heat exchanger in which the both the fluids are coming into contact. Steam is losing the heat to the cold water, and then steam gets converted to hot water, and cold water also gets hot, and both together leave as hot water. Okay, is it clear? So that is basically a heat exchanger. Now let us now basically our purpose in this lecture is to understand how we can apply the first law of thermodynamics to heat exchanger. You know, now you have understood that this heat exchanger is a open system. So here also I have drawn the same diagram, so you can see it here. So this is the control volume here. Okay, I can draw this control volume. You now understand the meaning of the control volume also. Now, let us try to give some names to the various things. For example, I can say m1 dot. That means this much mass flow rate of the steam in kgs per second is entering the shell, and its enthalpy is h1. Whereas on the other side, we have the cold water. Its mass flow rate is m2 dot, and its enthalpy is h3. And what is living? We have the hot water, which is living because it's the m2 mass of the cold water, and it is only coming in contact with the steam, so its mass flow rate will not change. Its mass flow rate remains as m2. Whereas because there is heat transfer from the steam, this is the heat transfer which is taking place. Okay, so its enthalpy will be h4. The enthalpy of the water will increase actually, so it is leaving h4. Whereas the steam which was entering at enthalpy m1 now leaves the from the bottom of the heat exchanger as water. The mass flow rate remains same m1 dot, whereas the enthalpy is dropped to h2. Okay, so this is what is happening. And basically what we can consider here is, or you can see here also, that it is only the heat exchange between the two fluids only. Okay, between the steam and the cold water, and no heat is lost to the surrounding. So that is what you should keep in mind. So it's adiabatic in nature. Okay, so there is no heat loss to the surrounding, or there is no heat which is coming from the surrounding into the control volume. So there is, the value of qcv is actually 0. So let us look at the steady flow energy equation. This is the steady flow energy equation. That is what we need to apply for this particular case. So delta q minus delta ws is equal to dh plus dke plus dp. So this is change in potential energy, this is change in kinetic energy, this is dh enthalpy term, this is work transfer, this is heat transfer. Okay, so I told you the process is adiabatic. That is, the value of delta q is 0. No heat is entering the system and no heat is leaving the system. So that is the first condition. Only heat is exchanged between two fluids. So I hope this is clear. Then when I integrate this equation, okay, I multiply by the mass flow rate and integrate this equation, I get qcv minus wcv. This also equation we have written earlier. M dot he minus hi ve minus ve square minus vi square divided by 2. This is the kinetic energy term, and this is the potential energy term, g ze minus zi. So I hope up to here it is correct. You can understand it. Now, there is not a single stream but multiple streams. Okay, this equation which we have derived earlier, this is derived for considering a single stream. Single stream means one stream is entering and one stream is leaving. Okay, I think you might be remembering that we have considered a control volume like this. We have considered a system like this. So it was having only one inlet and there was only one outlet. But in the present case, if you see this particular heat exchanger, so you can see here, this is one of the inlets, this is the another inlet, this is the exit here, and this is also an exit. So there are two inlets and two exits in this particular case. So we have to modify this particular equation. Okay, so steady flow energy equation is to be modified. So let us see what we can do. So the only change that we need to do in this particular case is, the first term will remain as it is, the second will remain as it is. Here we can introduce this term which says we will have to consider the sum of all terms which are entering and leaving. So if I have suppose n terms, n entries, so I can say I will be equal to, here I am using with mass flow rate, I am considering I actually. So I can take such n number of flows which are entering and leaving, and the remaining equation remains same. It is he minus hi p square minus vi square divided by 2 g ze minus zi. So the remaining part is same. And as I told you, in this particular case of heat exchanger, the value of qcv is 0. no heat is entering into the system and no heat is leaving the system, only there is exchange of heat between the two fluids. And can you see any shaft in this particular heat exchanger? No, there is no rotating component, there is no shaft. When there is no shaft, work will be equal to 0. So that is why we say that WCV is 0, because there is no shaft. And then what we can assume is the changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy are negligible. We are considering them to be negligible. Okay. So if you see the equation which we have just written here, so there is no QCV, there is no WCV, there is no change in the kinetic energy, there is no change in the potential energy. So we are left with this particular value only, this particular value. Okay, so this is what I have written here. Now basically this is the equation which we need to apply for this particular heat exchanger. Okay, so let us see how we can apply this. Now once again, what was the equation? We have written the equation sigma mi, where I is equal to 1 to n into He minus Hi, and this value is equal to 0. Okay, so what is the value of n in the present case? The value of n is equal to 2, because there are two streams which are entering. One is the cold water stream which is entering, and this is the stream which is entering. So basically the value of n is equal to 2. So there are two entries and two exits. So just let us apply this particular equation now. You can see here. Okay, so if we take m1 dot, m1 dot is the mass flow rate of the steam here, you can see it here. Okay, this is entering. So if we will take m1 dot, so we will take the first of all the exit enthalpy for m1 dot. Exit enthalpy for the m1 dot is H2. Okay, so I have written H2, then it is minus, so this is a minus sign. Then this is Hi means inlet enthalpy, so inlet enthalpy is H1 here. So I hope this is clear to you. Then sigma means summation, sum. So here we have taken the plus sign. Then I will go for the next mass flow rate, which is equal to m2 dot. So where is m2 dot? This is the m2 dot of cold water mass flow rate. And once again it is the exit enthalpy. So enthalpy for m2 mass is H4. Okay, so I have written here H4. And then inlet enthalpy for the mass flow rate m2, and that value is actually H3 here. So this is H3. So this is the final equation that I need to write in this case of heat exchanger. This is the static flow energy equation for a heat exchanger. Okay, then what I can do, I can combine different terms in such a way that I can take the energy which is entering into the control volume, that should be equal to the energy which is leaving the control volume. Now what are the entry terms? So you can see it is the m2h3 and m1h1. So you can see I have actually I have written it on the right hand side. This is the energy which is entering in. Okay, m1h1. So this is basically from this equation only, you can see it here. This is m1, this is h1, this is m2, this is h3. Both have the negative sign, so I am taking these on the right hand side. So it becomes m1h1 plus m2h3, and this value is actually equal to energy entering into the heat exchanger. And similarly whatever is remaining, it is actually m1h2 and m2h4. And this you can see here, m2 m1h2 and m2h4, this is the energy leaving the heat exchanger. So this is energy leaving the heat exchanger. Okay, so this equation we have derived from the steady flow energy equation. We could have directly used the first law of thermodynamics also, that is the conservation of energy principle, by writing energy entering is equal to energy leaving. In that way it would have been much simpler because if you see this heat exchanger, you can directly write this value. This is entering m1 h1 plus what is next entering, it is here, which is entering this, the mass flow rate is m2 h3, and that should be equal to energy which is going out, and this is the energy going out, m2 h4 plus m1 h2. So that means it's a quite simple equation, whether you want to proceed from the steady flow energy equation, or whether you want to proceed from the first law of means conservation of energy principle. So any question? Any questions you can ask? Any concept in this if you have not understood? Okay, so I hope that you have understood. Now I will go to the next topic, and it is on throttling. So I think none of you might have heard this particular term, throttling. Now what is throttling actually? uh, let us first of all read the definition, and then I will give you some examples of the throttling actually. Throttling is an expansion process of a fluid through a narrow restricted opening. It could be, the fluid could be gas or liquid, under adiabatic conditions in a zero work output device. Okay, so once again I will read this definition. Throttling is an expansion process of a fluid, which is either gas or liquid, through a narrow restricted opening under adiabatic conditions in a zero work output device. So let us try to understand it term by term. So when I say expansion process, okay, expansion process directly means that the pressure is going down. That means the pressure at the exit will be less than the pressure at the inlet. So that is the meaning of the expansion process. Then it says of a fluid. So of a fluid, you understand it is either gas or liquid, through a narrow restricted opening. So whenever suppose the flow is taking place in a pipeline here, and there is some restriction there. For example, if there is some something may happen there, and suppose the area is reduced, suppose this area is reduced, so there is some blockage. Okay, there is some blockage, and initially the fluid is flowing like this, and then it has to follow this particular path, very small narrow path actually, and so it's a sort of restriction here. Okay, it's a restriction. So basically whenever there will be restriction, the pressure will be reduced actually. So if the pressure here is pi, then the pressure here will be pe. So basically pe is less than pi. So that is the condition actually. Okay, then it says under adiabatic conditions. So you understand what is adiabatic means. The value of qcv is equal to 0. There is no heat transfer within the system or from the system to the surroundings. Okay, both ways it is not happening in a zero work output device. Zero work, so that means the value of work is also considered to be 0. So it is also 0. Okay, so this is how the process is taking place. So can anyone tell me, have you heard of any such device where there is a restriction? Have you seen any such device in your life? Tell me. Hello, anyone?
Needle
Which
or
needle?
syringe. Syringe.
Huh?
Syringe.
नहीं नहीं, सिरिंज नहीं है. सिरिंज में तो सी इन केस ऑफ सिरिंज व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, you are actually either forcing the fluid to go out. Yeah, yeah, because there is a You can say that in a syringe also there is a larger area, the fluid is available in the larger area. When you are pressing from the backwards, it's passing through a smaller area. So yes, that can be example of throttling actually. Okay. uh, but you may not be having syringe at your home if your parents are not doctors actually. Suppose if I talk about you at your home, can you find any such device where this type of thing can happen? Then you give an example. See your
सर वो
tap.
जैसे कोनिकल
बोलो.
फ्लास्क होता है, कोनिकल फ्लास्क नहीं तो सर जिससे जो जिसमें एक साइड बड़ा होता है एक साइड छोटा होल होता है, मतलब कुछ किसी बॉटल में ट्रांसफर करने के लिए किसी लिक्विड को काम आता है।
See, actually, you should probably that could be case, but the
Sir,
better
air
example would be
conditioner. Air
better
conditioner.
air conditioner. Uh, yes, but you may not be knowing where the throttling is taking place in air conditioner. It is there, throttling process takes place, but you may not be knowing about that. Okay,
Sir,
so
shampoo bottle.
see, not like that actually. See, see, for example, now I will
Tap.
tell you. Hmm. Now listen to me. See, actually, it's a continuous flow. Actually, I am talking about the continuous flow. See, you have taps at your home. Okay, whenever you are opening the tap, what you are doing? You are making the water to flow. The water is in the tank at the top floor, and there is a continuous supply of water through the pipeline. And before the tap, the pressure is higher. But when you open the tap less, that means there is a restriction in the tap actually. If you can increase or decrease that restriction actually, so basically there the pressure is dropping actually. Okay, so that is one of the examples, and another example could be the nozzle of the commode. Okay, which is available in your home also. Okay, so these are two examples, and wherever you will be seeing the piping system in the buildings. Okay, so there are valves. We are always using certain valves to change the flow rate. Sometimes what you have to do is you also have to close the flow water from the tank also. So there is a hand shut off valve. Okay, that hand shut off valve is also a sort of throttling device actually, because it is making the pressure to reduce. Okay, so what you can see it here is we have considered a pipe here. Okay, this is a pipeline, this is a pipeline, and there is a uh, restricted opening. So this is a restricted opening because the area has been reduced here, and we are considering that the fluid which is entering here, it has a velocity v1, pressure p1, and at the exit its velocity is v2 and the pressure is p2. So basically this is the inlet condition and this is the exit condition. Okay, and I have already told you that the exit pressure will be less than the intake pressure or inlet pressure, means there is expansion in this particular case. So I hope the definition of the throttling is clear to you. Now let us proceed further. Now we have to apply the first law of thermodynamics for this particular case. So once again, this is the same diagram which we have drawn here. Then this is the steady flow energy equation here, QCV minus WCV, m dot. This is the change in enthalpy. This is the kinetic energy term, and this is the potential energy term. And you can see here, because it's a simple case of one inlet and one outlet, so we have not taken the summation of the different streams actually. So uh, I hope this is clear to you. So let us proceed further now. Now, once again, as I told you, because it is a adiabatic process, so the value of QCV will be equal to 0. WCV, I have already told you, it is already 0. Okay, because there is no shaft. And then what we can consider also here is that potential energy change is also negligible. Why potential energy change is negligible? We are considering a pipeline. For example, if its inlet and its outlet both are at same level, means the value of Z2 and Z1, if it is same, or suppose if there is minor difference, then this value of GZE minus ZI will also be negligible. So that is why we're neglecting it. So we can say in this equation, this term QCV will not be there. WCV, this is also 0, and this is also 0. So basically we are left with only two terms here. These are the two terms which are remaining. So we are left with this one. Okay, M dot HE minus HI plus V square minus VI square by 2. So now E and I here are representing inlet and exit actually. Okay, so we can put the values which the naming we have done. For inlet we have taken 1, for outlet we have taken 2. So accordingly we can write. So you can see this is H1, this is Vy square by 2. So both have negative sign in front of them. So I can write H1 plus V1 square by 2 is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2. This is the final equation in case of throttling. Now let us consider this fluid is actually a liquid. So you know that a fluid can be either liquid or a gas. Now I am considering that this fluid is a liquid actually. So if it is a liquid, then the mass flow rate equation will be given by rho1 A1 V1, and that should be equal to rho2 A2 V2. What is rho? Rho stands for density. Okay. What is A? A is the area of cross section. Area of cross section. And V stands for the velocity. V is velocity. So if you will multiply all these terms, you will get the unit as kg per second. So basically it is the mass flow rate. M dot is means mass flow rate. And whatever the mass is entering the pipe, that should be leaving the pipe also. It is the conservation of mass, or it is also known as continuity equation. What is it? What it is known as? It is known as continuity equation. Continuity equation. So this you will be studying in case of fluid mechanics. That is also a part of this particular course. So rho1 A1 V1 is equal to rho2 A2 V2. Now what happens in case of liquids? The density rho1 is equal to rho2, because in case of liquids there is very less effect of pressure. So the density does not change much. And moreover, we are considering pipe to be of the same diameter. So at the inlet, whether you take the diameter at inlet or whether you take the diameter at the outlet, that is actually same. So it means the area A1 will also be equal to area A2. So this is given here. So what does it means? It means the velocity V1 is equal to velocity V2, because rho1 cancels out with rho2, A1 cancels out with A2. So V1 is equal to V2. So if you will see this equation number 1 here, so V1 square by 2 and V2 square by 2 will cancel out. And finally, we are left with H1 is equal to H2. So basically, in case of throttling process, enthalpy actually does not change. Enthalpy remains constant in case of a throttling process. So throttling means it's a constant enthalpy process. And this is how we do the analysis for this particular case. Now let us proceed further. However, for gases, if we are considering a gas, okay, what we are writing M is equal to rho1 A1 V1, that is equal to rho2 A2 V2. Now I am considering a gas. In case of gas, the density 1 will not be equal to density 2, because the pressure here is P1 and the pressure here is P2, and P1 is greater than P2. So the density will vary at both the places. Now let us try to analyze this particular situation. Now what will happen in this particular case? If density rho1 is not equal to rho2, but you know it's a constant area pipe, so A1 and A2 will cancel out. It means rho1 V1 is equal to rho2 V2. So it directly means, because rho1 is not same as rho2, that means V1 and V2, so one of them will be bigger and other of them may be smaller. So this will be there. So finally, for gases, I can always write that this is the final equation. Okay, H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2. That is the final equation for gases. Now consider a situation the case in which there is not much change in the pressure. That means P2 and P1 and P2 are different in case of gas, but not much different from each other. In that particular case, we can say that the velocity V1 and velocity V2 are equal. Okay, and then this term will cancel out with this term, and we are left with H1 is equal to H2. And when I say H1 is equal to H2, it means the enthalpy remains constant. So in case of gases also, enthalpy may remain constant if there is not much variation in the density. Now let us try to further try to go into more detail of this enthalpy. Now for a gas, I can always write that enthalpy is given by Cp into T1. Okay, and what is the value of H2? It is equal to Cp into T2. And what is Cp? Cp is the specific heat at constant pressure. So this Cp and Cp will cancel out, and finally I get T1 is equal to T2 in case of a gas. This is not valid in case of liquids. In case of liquids, I said that H1 is equal to H2. Okay, this is what I have said, but I never said that T1 is equal to T2. So this is not valid in case of liquids. This you need to remember. Okay, uh, so this is what is throttling. I hope this is clear to you. Mainly we need to remember that H1 is equal to H2, and it is a very important process. It happens in case of a capillary tube. Okay, capillary tube. You may not be knowing what is a capillary tube. It is actually used in a window air conditioner as well as in case of your domestic refrigerator. Both places or both devices it is used. Okay, not more than this I will tell you about this throttling process. Now what I am going to do is I am just keeping this slide here for 10 minutes, and what you have to do is you will have to go through this uh, numerical problem. I am giving you 10 minutes, and then I will once again explain it. In the meantime, I am not recording, so I will stop the recording, and then you have to solve this question, and then